welcome. It's Kate Griffiths here from Whole Self Leadership, and I'm coming on today because I want to talk to you about the next chapter in our book Philosophy for Life, which is all about Plutarch. And I'm sort of wearing a gold scarf, and I've even got this beautiful gold spritzer, because for me this chapter is really talking about power. I mean, the whole section is on politics, but more than any other, it's about power. And this one, I particularly love this spritzer. It's called Rose Gold. And as you can see, it's quite a pale gold colour. And it's very much, I mean, all gold spritzers and bottles are, in some respects, dealing with power and our relationship with power. And what's fundamentally different about the rose gold lady is that she's incredibly feminine, so doing it in a really subtle way. And I think this gets to the heart of what perhaps I don't really agree with in the chapter on Plutarch. I love some of the ideas, so I love this idea that we can learn by example, and that we are what we eat, we are what we read, we are who we know. And so there's something about really focusing on that. And there's an example of a politician called Rory Stewart from the UK who did amazing things in the first sort of 20 to 30 years of his life. And he was very inspired in many respects by his father, who had tried to get him to learn ancient Greek when he was 5. And so you can sort of see the impact that had on him, because he went on to do some incredible things, like walking for 6,000 miles. He then discovered the emptiness of power. You know, he became a governor of 2 provinces in Iraq, and he had a lot of power and a lot of money and didn't really enjoy it. So he had to redefine himself. And I guess that's also part of the issue, perhaps, with what Plutarch is saying, is sort of like the cult of the hero. And we see that, you know, as a historian, that I'm really aware of that, you know, in terms of the way that history is taught. You know, it's all about Stalin or Hitler and the impact that that one individual had on a nation or on many, many people. And yet, is it as simple and straightforward as that? You know, should we be looking to emulate military and political heroes, and also sort of educating people that are going to be in those positions to do a better job? I don't think it's like a yes-no answer, because sometimes when we perhaps look at some of our politicians today, we might think that they could perhaps do with looking at life from a different perspective and in a different way. And I was really inspired by the story of the gangster who found himself through reading and literature when he was in prison, and completely changed his world. So there is definitely some of the elements of this chapter that really resonated with me. And then there's the point, you know, like they talk about the Stanford prison experiment, where they took, I think, 24 people, 12 people were guards and 12 people were prisoners. And they were meant to run the experiment for 2 weeks, but they had to end it after a few days because the guards had started getting so sadistic. People, that some of the prisoners were having emotional breakdowns. So it's a bit like, you know, who we are and our moral fibre is not so much about character, so much as the situations that we find ourselves in. And that reminds me, I suppose, of that really famous book which explores that, The Lord of the Flies. So I don't know, where are you on that debate? Because as I end this, I come to the end of this section and on this chapter, I'm also reminded that there's been a lot of discussion in education about building character and defining that. So, you know, it's open-ended, and I'd love to know what you think. So please do leave a comment either here after the video or in our Telegram group if you're part of the book group. And I wish you well, whatever you're doing this week. Bye for now.